my multiple dialogues 21. And I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Henna Helander, Finnish architect, to London and to our studio. Henna said earlier today, I like to do about 5 things at once. So, and her CV is pretty extraordinary. When she was chief architect of Helsinki, the city of Helsinki, she had 50 staff and she was the second youngest. She's been the president of the Finnish Association of Architects for the last 5 years, which is second only to Alvar Aalto. And more recently, she's part of a group of people setting up what you might call a kind of humanitarian or a furniture company, workshop, providing furniture for refugees. So today, she describes herself as an architect, but as in she had a practice before she was chief architect, before she was very finished. But today, working alone, yes, but over the last number of years, has been working, well, was basically responsible for initiating and leading the conservation and the sort of reinvention of Paimio, which is coming up to its centenary, isn't it? Not far off. Which is an extraordinary building, and certainly for us, an inspiration because of, I mean, it's kind of, it itself, well, as Henna will explain, an incredible array of kind of innovations. I guess certainly for Gavin and me, and no doubt some of the people in the room, the thing that really was so fascinating about Aino and Alvar Aalto's work is their position in relation to modernism. And as Colin St. John Wilson described it as the other tradition. And along with Hans Scharoun and Hugo Hering as a kind of counterpoint to the formalism and the architecture, and the technocratic architecture which kind of took hold or became the conventional picture of modernism. So this is an extraordinary building, and we're here to hear about the process you went through.
Thank you for these wonderful words. It's an honor and pleasure to be in London and to see all the colleagues here. You are quite many. And I hope that I can see you also in Finland. So if you haven't been there, after this presentation, I hope that you will come. Paimio Sanatorium was really like changing the thinking what is functionalism. Before, of course, this all are my own interpretations. Before, functionalism was more or less a little bit maybe code, and it was very technical orientated. But then this wonderful white building, sanatorium, came, and the whole architecture is about ethics. It's about values, and yeah, let's talk a bit about it later. But this sentence, Paimio Sanatorium, is an instrument of healing. It's by Alvar Aalto. And it tells a lot. It tells that everything there, all the details, everything was done to help people to get healthy. here some photos how it looked like 3 years ago when I started to work with it. But this building was like breakthrough building for Aino and Alvar Aalto, 1933. And to understand something, how it really changed the things, yeah, that later. But it, sorry for this. My role was this. The hospital was for sale like 3 years ago. It was empty hospital, nowhere. I mean, for you maybe Finland is nowhere, but it was really nowhere in the forest, like 150 kilometers from Helsinki, 30 kilometers from the next biggest city, Turku. And it was for sale at open market. So anybody could have bought it. And because it's not just a building, it's also all the furnitures and all the equipments. And they were all there, not of course all, but there were still like 80 original beds and so many original furnitures from 30s, which belonged to that place and which were even more worth of money than the building itself. That it was a really critical thing. Who will buy it? And this came as a surprise also to the architects. I was at that time just chosen to be president of Finnish Architect Association, and also to Alvar Aalto Foundation. They didn't know that, and suddenly it was for sale. And we don't have that kind of law in Finland that would like force those who sell it to preserve those furnitures there in the place, but they could have really sell them and empty the buildings of them. So I and 3 other enthusiasts, we decided to buy it. behalf of the foundation later being founded, because I couldn't see any other way to rescue it. It was like we were running out of time, and so we left the offer. And for our surprise, we got like 3 months time to, we asked for half a year time to put this foundation, but we got 3 months time. At that time, I also met Heikki Aalto-Alanen, who is now the head of this board of this foundation, Paimio Foundation, Paimio Sanatorium Foundation. He is grandchild of Alvar Aalto and lawyer. And with him and like a group of people, we started to gather who could like really found this foundation. Yeah. And then we met some ministry, like cultural ministry and other important politicians and other foundations and so on. But we almost did it, but we didn't. But at that time, state had already like decided, okay, we don't let it to be sold, and we will make this foundation also the cities of Paimio and Turku, which is this bigger city nearby, and Alvar Aalto Foundation. They all then made this new foundation. So happily, we got foundation. Yes. So that's like my role in this. And I was also chosen to be in the board of this foundation, and then this board chose me to be the first CEO of this Paimio Sanatorium. So I was like in that role for 2 years. Now that I don't have my glass.
You want me to do IT?
Oh, he's clever.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's my limit.
I have a lot of photos. Here you can see how it looked like. It was hospital, empty hospital. There was this operation rooms. They were almost full equipment. How do you call it? But anyway, almost in that shape that you could have patients there to be operated. It was wonderful. The other spaces were not that wonderful. There were all kind of spaces, like almost all the patient rooms were like this. It was changed to be hospital after Aalto died, 76. They had like big auction, and they sold those furnitures and changed this sanatorium to be hospital. And yeah, but they left one room there as it was, and that we'll talk about later. In Finland, almost nobody really knows about Paimio Sanatorium. Of course, architects know, but for the normal people, it was hospital. It was a place where people were ill. And there were, in Finland, there are so many functionalistic buildings. It's like we have just 1% of our buildings are built before 1900. So it's like nothing. So this kind of building, why should it be something different from the other buildings? Quite many people didn't understand it. But fortunately, quite many people abroad understood it, and we had this appeal, and quite many people signed it, maybe also some of you. And we also have good articles around the world. For example, this was in Wall Street Journal magazine about this selling. And these things were like some kind of hints to our politicians, which helped them to understand the meaning of this building. Because politicians, they don't really often understand the meaning of modern architecture. But Paimio Sanatorium was well published also when it was born. There were 2 big articles in Architecture Review 1933. The one was about the building, and the other one was about the furniture. And now I have to show, it has also, in functionalism, this bold kind of constructions made of steel, concrete steel structures were really common. This was like the end of this, where you had all those sun decks, which you of course had in sanatoriums, but there was only one row of piles, or columns, how do you call it? Yeah. Like this, and these were cantilevers. And then there was this 10 centimeters thick concrete steel, reinforced concrete, that was it, wall, and it's high, you will see later, very, very high. And Aalto was like 30 years old at that time. He was bold, but also the constructor was very, very bold. And Aalto came from, he was living in Turku, so he came by a car, he has a car, to that place to see in the nighttime, to see if it has collapsed or not. It wasn't, obviously. But yeah, it doesn't have even that mikä on liikuntasauma, such a.
There's no margin?
There's no seam for the movement, you know. Yes, thank you. Yeah. But now we go a little bit to the history to understand something about Finland. We were once a big, no, we weren't. Here you can see England. Here's Finland. Here's Russia, Sweden. We were part of Sweden, for hundreds years. But then they had Finnish war between Sweden and Russia, 1808, and 1809 we become autonomous country, but under Russia. Yeah, it was sort of strange thing, but at that time we got our own language as the official language, our own currency, and so on. And then we left some parts of Finland later on in Second War. But 1917 we got independence from Russia. And we had civil war for 4 months. It was horrible, of course. Civil wars are horrible things. Wars are always horrible things. Alvar Aalto was at that time 19 years old, and he was also participating in this war. I guess it has been very traumatic for him because later on he was, for example, making setting for the pacifist theater piece and so on. And he never talked about that time. But why it's so important was that very, very many young people were killed. Yeah, in those 4 months. And then there was another thing, which is pandemia. Now we know what pandemia is after Corona. And tuberculosis was in, hey, Finland, it's very tiny. Now we have 5 million people, but at that time we had just 3. And this pandemic was killing like 10,000 people per year. So the rate of inhabitants were like declining. So we were an independent country and we wanted to do something. And that thing, like almost like first thing independent Finland did, was to have this network of tuberculosis sanatorium in Finland. And it was also important because tuberculosis killed mainly young people, not old people, but young people. And here is Alvar Aalto's architectural joke. Yeah. I don't know if it's a nice joke, and he never mentioned it again. He didn't really talk. He talked a lot about architecture, but more like of the from the technical point of view, or like from the in quite poetic way, but he didn't really describe his architecture. But you know, tuberculosis is lung disease, and there's sort of like, yeah, and it's black. And also the entrance, there is like wind fan, is it wind fan? It's such a small entrance. When you have a cold outside, like we have in Finland, then you have like double doors, yeah. That area is black. So you go through black and then you come to the light ways, white and yellow. And you have there like glass wall where the elevator lifts, in English, lifts went up and down. Now that glass wall is away, so you can't experience that. But at that time, people were living in huts, really little huts, and they came to this place by horses. So you can imagine that this has been something. This patient room was like the most, it's like core of this sanatorium. And the competition was held 1929, and it was sanatorium for competition for Mr. Architects. Alvar Aalto and Aino Aalto signed it together, like equals. And this is part of the, competition entry. Here is the site plan. I thought that I'm very logical with my slides, but now I noticed that they are missed, to be honest. But you are architects, you understand that all things come together, and but here are the patient rooms. Here are those, or used to be that place, terraces where you were lying. Yeah. Here were all like common spaces, like working spaces and restaurants and so on. Here were some nurses' flats and so on, and here were kitchens and there were like those operation theaters. Here was the doctor's terrace house, and there were technicians. Yeah, for those. And here was such a path. You were supposed to walk and get healthier. And there were always like water, pool, and then we turned around. Yeah. But what was really different from the other sanatoriums were that this was very freely like open up. This is directly to the south. This is, you will see later on, it has very important direction. And you were supposed to come from here. So, here, all the patient rooms they are equal. They are situated exactly in the same way. You had corridors going here, and then this opens public spaces here. So this was like sort of like common courtyard. But this patient room, Alvar Aalto was at hospital just before this this competition. There is no like knowledge why he was there, but he was. And this whole patient room was really designed for the weak horizontal person. It's very experimental, I would say. It's really sad that you have to come. The radiator, yes, first like some technical issues. Radiator is there, up on the ceiling. It's situated so that when you are lying here, your feet get warm, but not your head. These both room beds are situated so that both patients can see the trees outside. There's studies, oh, thank you. There are studies that people are happier and healthier if they can see trees from their home. It's really true, at least we think, believe in that. Then that lamp, which is also designed by Alvar Aalto, of course, it was situated there between wall and ceiling, so that it doesn't, what is that word? Yeah. And that lamp was really special design, so that night light came from that stand downwards. Then, maybe because Alvar Aalto had been lying himself, he was very, these colors meant a lot to him. He wanted that the ceiling is dark. So this is like original patient room, but the colors are not original ones. We have them now in our exhibition next to this room, but the ceiling color was such a darkish bluish or darkish greenish. every floor had its own color schemes. And these walls had such a warm grayish color. Also, acoustic was important. So there was this new cellulose or whatever. Yeah, that kind of acoustic board they put on one wall. 3 were like hard to get like ideal sound landscape. Then all the corners were like rounded because of cleaning. So in the building, you can read everywhere what is like old and what is like new part. So all the corners here are round. And cleaning was very important because, of course, it was sanatorium. So this is the wardrobe here. So it was also like, it had this kind of upper part. Then Aalto situated this window on this side so that you could see those trees, but also because it was some kind of interpretation of this healthy window, which was very popular at that time, so that the fresh air came from this between 2 glasses. It came from this outer glass. They go like this, and this glass was open in that way, so the air came around the yes, this against the wall, so that the patients couldn't be roughed. Yeah. And we still have those original windows there, which is pretty fine, I think. Also, this is story. I don't know if it's if it's so or not, but they said that Aalto wanted to have these windows onto the floor, yeah, to maximize the light. Yeah. But because he couldn't get it, he made the floor become to the window. So he made this thing, there's of course pipes in it. Unfortunately, they took away those things 1976, 77. But in this one room, you can still see. The whole sanatorium was like supposed to be the example for the other sanatoriums in Finland, and Aalto was like designing all the furnitures as well. And these patient room furnitures are very, I would say, Bauhaus-like. They have those tubular steel structures and plywood and so on. Later in this building, all the other furniture were more or less wood, like totally wood furniture. And Aalto wanted that these would be standard furniture for the hospitals, but they didn't. But the other furnitures become like they are still like the core of Artek furniture, which was founded 2 years later. Yeah, here you can see, for example, this side table. You could have it here, or you could have it there. Yeah, I think there must be a better photo for that. Oh. And yeah, the speaking, it was very important because tuberculosis was in bacteria. Yeah. So everybody has this kind of spitting mug, and this was when you were walking, for example, outside. You had like this. Yeah. Because for me it looks like you put alcohol in it, but for that time it was for spitting. And here you can see spitting bowl. It was made of glass. I think it's one of those most beautiful items. It's really beautiful, and it worked like toilet bowls. The water came here and went around, and it's glass because of cleaning, so that you could be sure that it's clean well. And they had even owned, is it suits? System? Yeah, training. Yeah, system for spitting, yeah. And both patients were also having this hand washing basins, and they were also designed by Alvar Aalto. And here you can see, I think also this drawing is marvelous. They were supposed to be noiseless. It's not quite, but let's pretend. Yeah. Good intention, at least. Yeah. Oh, I told already about this window. So we can. Oh yes, this is interesting. It looks maybe. I don't say anything, but but we have one, and I showed here. There, very, very, very high. You can see it's a blind. Blind. Yeah. And it was made of wood. Of course, they lasted maybe like 2, 3, 4 years, not longer. But what a wonderful idea. Really wonderful idea, and very, very contemporary, I would say. You can see also that the windows were very deep, so that the sunlight was cut. You get like morning light, but when it come noon light and later on, it wasn't like making the room hot anymore. Really in Finland we have also some hot times. Here you can see horse, and there were like 3 machines making this building. 2 of them were making cement concrete, but this was like made without cranes. So women were like carrying all the tiles up and all that kind of things. Yeah. Finnish women are very strong. And here you can see this area where this is like thing we have lost. So here were those terraces, and now they are like interior. So it was changed later, but also by Aaltos office. And it's quite nicely done, but still it was better. Furniture, yeah. Here you can see better about those side tables, which could be also like here. And also these lamps, they could be situated like that, or just like table lamp, all designed by Aaltos or his office. There were like 5 people working at that time, 2 from Norway, and of course Aino. And here, these are like my favorite pieces. They are wardrobes, and there's the walls and the door is like one piece, and you could open it, and people were calling them coffins. Yeah. Okay. Yes. But if you imagine in those places like normal wardrobes, it wouldn't work. But this kind of very smooth, they are almost like no furniture at all. And there are a lot of them there. Yes. Also, Alvar Aalto, and in this building, they say that this is building which has most innovations than any other building has in the world. And after being there for 2 years, I would say that it is true. It's really true. I'd also got some patents with this furniture maker, Otto Korhonen. They were working together, and they invented this vented wood thing made of, so that you bended it with glue and plywood. So it's massive wood, and suddenly you just need it like this. Oh, you don't have Alvar Aalto's.
School.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
So it's really clever. It has only 3 legs, and with 3 what are those? You can put it, and that's the structure. It's very, very extremely clever thing, I think. And here is the other favorite of mine, Paimio chair. And because this is about ethics, this is about functionalist thinking, this is not designed to be beautiful. It just happened to be beautiful. It's made for breathing. So you were supposed to sit here. It's yeah, it's flexible and yeah. And these are making these are structural. Yeah, both. But this upper one is so that you put your hands there, and you get your lungs open to help to breathe. And they were very light to move, so even those ill people could move them. And yeah, the posture, yeah, it was like correct when you were sitting there. Yeah. And this was the place where they were at that time. That was the place where you were supposed to breathe with your. They are not colleagues, but with the other patients. There were 300 patients at that time. There was this ceiling, which is still very mural kind of, but it was even more mural kind that time. Green, color was green, and they had so big window glasses that they had to import them from Germany. Can you imagine they brought them in 30s by boat and maybe by horse, I don't know, or yeah, and they got them there, and they lifted them up without cranes, just for those patients to them get healthier, so that they could get more light. And yeah.
Can you translate what it said?
Oh, I thought that I had translated it. Sorry. There's
have a go, Henna.
okay, the structure which is near a person is right. It's righter, more right. If you use such a material which has been bearing light, which has been lived, itself, yes. So the wood, yes, has grown up and been alive. Yeah. So this was like the idea that Alvar Aalto didn't want to use steel if somebody touched it, but wood, because it's warm and it's nicer under the hand. Yeah, innovations. For example, this handle was innovated so that doctors' sleeves got stuck. Yeah. And that's wrong interpretation. The beauty is harmony of purpose and form is how Alvar Aalto said, but it's more or less like this thing. And by the way, that's the color blue, Paimio blue color. And all the colors come from forest, almost, and this, which were used there. There were also this kind of green windows were supposed to have this potteries or all kind of green things. I don't know what. Then there was this panorama lift which was like the first panorama lift in Nordic countries. It was in Paimio nowhere. I almost said that it was for ill people, but this was not. This was for 6 nurses. But the point wasn't that. The point, its original one, there were like 10 lifts there, and just one is original, but happily one is. It was situated in the end of the building, and this was the place where all the patients come to the, like in the entrance of this area. So they could see the lift going up and down. So they were really poor people, because this was sanatorium where everybody could come. It wasn't a place where you pay for. So I think it might be even shocking for them to see that. Oh, that's in English. Alvar Aalto was very fond of standardization. Yes, he was also leading Finnish office for standardization. But he thought that they should be always customized. And we have now like we have the exhibition like in 10 rooms, and in one room it's for these innovations. Then, because tuberculosis was there was no medical treatment for that at that time. People were very scared of it, so they wanted it to be far away from where they live. So it was like in the forest. And there was already some studies at that time that pine trees are the best. They are like most ozone. So that was in pine tree forest. Although these are not, but that's because of this little river. And there were 200 hectares which belonged to this Paimio Sanatorium. And this site was chosen because of these pine trees and because of this water supply. They were like the keys used in this case. And Alvar Aalto designed this dam. There was like pond which is now more or less dry because the dam is broken there. It's leaking. And he also made this kind of diving platform there. It's quite funny. And this pond was called Love Pond because they were young people and that was the place where they were. And this is water pumping thing, little ones, yes, designed by Alvar Aalto. And there is such a, it's still working, and the gardening water is coming from that place. There was also farm because nobody wanted to be with those people who were living in this society. This is sauna, by the way. But people were living at that time in this kind of huts in Finland, and especially in this area. And we have snow sometimes. This is a greenhouse designed by Alvar Aalto. his only greenhouses. They are in quite bad conditions. They were very big greenhouses, and with chimney and so on. And this farm was very big, and they had pigs there and cows there and everything. So they had their food by themselves, and those patients who were a little bit healthier, they were helping in farm, and they had like their own grocery, or not grocery, but vegetables there. There you can see those serpentine walking around. Yeah, it has been beautiful. Now we have marked those ponds there. And here you can see they were in forest. When you were lying, you couldn't see trees. This is the upper sun deck. If you were a little bit healthier, you came here 3 times per day. You were not allowed to talk or read. You were supposed to just breathe, concentrate and breathe. So Alvar Aalto puts these boxes with pine trees there. And those first pine trees were, I guess, just from the pine trees for the forest, because they grow up very fast. Later on, they were like mountain pine trees. So I would say this is the first box garden in the world. I don't know. It's my story. And here, the building looks very different from very different angles. And here, I think it looks like a German castle, So it's a fairy tale castle. This was one symbol of the building. They had their own power plant, and they get it was heated with logs, and also with, is it turf? No. Because they have their own. It's not swamp, but something, very wet place. They took that away from there and heat it up. Then there is also escape stairs here, and water. It's water tower. It's water tank there up, and it's also quite incredible that it's still there, this water tank, because it's very heavy. Water is very heavy and things. And that's all like handmade, and it's still there. Yeah. There's also this kind of idea that the water is like warmed up with this chimney, but I have heard that it's not true, but I don't know. Yeah. And here you can see those stairs. In the whole building, the light is so important that everywhere you can be without artificial light. So even in this stairwell, there is like upper light coming. They are like, so many things are like cultures there. And because this was self-sufficient place, there were also like this oven, bakery oven, and there are still like all this kind of stuff there left. And that is where they killed those animals. Yeah, they had like raw kitchen and other kitchen. Yeah? Slaughter thing, something like that. Yeah, community. there were quite many people there living, and they were really living there, and there were fence around this place. And it was not such a fence that it like prevent people going and coming, but it was more like a symbol that don't come, it's dangerous place. So there were like open gates. Later on, also Aaltos office were doing all these changes and so on there. He was also designing this nurse's house. And yeah. And then that little thing there, it's like rose cellar where dead bodies were. Yeah. Because 1/3 of people died, 1/3 of people were just arrived, and 1/3 of them got healthy. That's before antibiotics. So 68, everybody was like vaccinated, or they had already this tuberculosis. So after that, this was like changed to be altered to be normal hospital. But until that, it was really like 1/3. This was like a chief offician's house villa, which is nowadays kindergarten. It's inside almost original. It's quite funny that little kids can play in the place where like the highest in hierarchy doctor has lived. And this is doctor's row house. It's very Bauhaus kind of, and these are like the first ones. They are also original inside. And this is from 60s nurses' house. One of the things Alvar Aalto was very good was how he put things in the landscape. And this is massive long building, but it doesn't look like it because it goes like snake, and it was called snake building. When I was saying that in the newspaper, I was talking about this snake building. One nurse called me, old nurse, and said, "Please don't use that word," because it was a very bad nickname for the nurses. And I started to call it nurses' house. But even in that building, they have their like all kind of experimental housing types, like of course just normal flats, but then so that you can divide it in 4 or 3 or so, and this kind of stairs, no sense at all, but fun. And then there's also this kind of door, you can't really see, but I'll tell you, one leaf which can go to this frame or that frame. So one leaf can close 2 doorways. And Paimio is very famous of these colors, and this is the yellow stair color, and it was supposed to rise your spirit, because psychological things were like, obviously they were very important because there were no medicine. This is nowadays how it looks like this place where those Paimio chairs used to be. We just have nowadays one there, which is very sad, but happily one. And of course, also all architects make mistakes, so there are some mistakes even Alvar Aalto has done, and one was that there were only one chimney or two chimneys in this house, and they were in this room because it had those big windows. This one, it's very beautiful. It's like this. But Alvar Aalto thought that the smoke doesn't need that height straight away, but it could be somehow like first on the floor and later maybe. And it didn't really work, but the smoke come like into the room, and it was really bad because they had this like. But happily that time we had in Finland such a thing as a no alcohol law, so they were keeping those forbidden bottles. They have taken away the other chimney, which they were like symmetrical ones, but this other is still there. Then this space is one of the most beautiful spaces there. It's a library. It has like light coming from three sides, and there are all kind of strange windows. This is one example. You can open it up. It's fun, but yeah, and they are still working. And this whole thing is hanging from these steel things. Yeah, I can show you later. Transformation. That's what I started to do there. We had like quite many patient rooms empty there. This is planned. Yeah. We decided to have the first floor like open to everybody. We have exhibition, like this permanent exhibition about building, and then on the second floor, other kind of exhibitions for art and for the company. Then office spaces, because it's quite easy to change, and hotel, but it's not coming yet. Maybe later. But what is really funny that in this building there is no sauna. There was one sauna, and it was for this chief doctor, but it burnt down. So, yeah, to come to Finland and not to have sauna, it doesn't work. Then there was yeah, I can show you later. So this was how it looked like. It was hospital with hospital kind of desks and so on. So we took some things down. You can see it's hanging. This is the library. It's hanging there. And when it was used as a sanatorium, some people denied to go under that thing because they were just used to these log buildings. They could see the structure, and that was really scary. And when I came to this building, one like thing I didn't understand was that this is like the main space of the whole building. Why it had this classical things here? Like, okay, these are radiators. They are not classical thing, but this ornament kind of thing is. And these are Saturnus lights, which are like Alvar Aalto's only ones there. But then I studied, and we found this. It has been cinema. Alvar Aalto was one of the first who made cinema club in Turku. He was living there. And he wanted that to be cinema. And he was also very fond of Swedish architect Gunnar Asplund. So there were like two things. This was like honor to Gunnar Asplund, and this is the cinema kind of atmosphere. Okay, that was my interpretation. Hey, can you again be item?
No, well, I get it right this time. There you
Oh, wonderful.
go.
So, yeah. Yeah, so that's projector room, yeah? And use, there are the cinema films, yeah? They had once a week cinema nights there. They had also all kind of theaters and music and own newspapers and their own all kind of things. It was society, and this is how it looks now, more or less. And this is like the spirit there, but you can always repair. And once I said it to one guy who had worked there, like technician who had worked there for 30 years, that, oh, you have kept all these things here. Wonderful, you have such a sense of culture, he said to me, Henna. It's not about culture, we just care about money. we don't spend on stupid things. So what we did, and so we didn't have money either. So we just took away this hospital. Of course, there were some bits we wanted to keep it, but we wanted more like clean it. And also we had like hundreds of these patient rooms, so we also made some exhibition spaces, just making simply some openings. But still, there are like many others. Then there were like this kind of rooms with, yeah, they had got like money from company to decorate it for kids. So we return those old colors, but this floor, we made the clay floor, and it's sorry.
Tiles?
No, clay. It's the first clay floor in the public building in Finland, and I think it's very clever because you can take it off if you want, and it doesn't do any harm to the surface under it. It balances the humidity. It's warm under your hand, warmer than concrete, for example. It was 8% humidity here. Some of it is like recycled, not recycled, but side stream clay, because when you have caves, you have a lot of clay. And it looks like that. That's example. It looks like what's that? Concrete? Yeah. Yeah. And here we are doing it. It looks like a potato field. And here it's when it's finished. And then we found on the other place that they have been concrete, because first they said that they have not been concrete, or because this is such a cluster tiles. We took them away and all the walls away and made this. This is the old concrete floor. So we didn't have money, so we just left everything to how it was. But this was the space where they learn new professions. So between those concrete things, there were like graphs, such a graph. You could get like electricity from that. Really? Yeah. Then we did this accommodation rooms, kind of. That's Martin, one of my colleagues there. And we were using just furniture we found in the building. And that was because it's not very good if you are an architect and you fall in love with building. It's not very good. I was living there every second week. And I was living in this little flat, alone in this huge building, like 18,000 square meters. The last nurse had left those nice furniture there. So I had those, and then I had like other original furniture from 30s. It was a really nice mix. Yeah, this is the shop we made. Oh, yes. Yeah, all these things. First, I have run, I guess, long ago. All these things, I thought first that they are because of the colors and because of the things. But for example, these ratings, they were painted more lacquered so that they were easier to wipe. And those round shapes, yeah. But what is the best there is this light. And the whole building has been done for the light and breathing and getting better. This is, by the way, that big wall without any, this is not photo taken by myself. This panorama photos are not, but yeah, we have been winter there, and I think winter time is also. These are like when I was spending my lonely nights there. It was wonderful. It was really wonderful. And mornings, even when it's like bad weather, summer, the horizon, you almost felt that there's no civilization anywhere when you were looking around. Okay, maybe not there, but yeah. And this building, yeah, I was living there. And here are those big windows. But it looks so different from different angles. It's white outside, and this orange comes from the pine trees. Pine trees has this orange. but inside it has many, many colors, like you can see, different colors. This was when I was walking to my room, that's my room. My bed. Nurse. I wasn't alone. Empty corridors. You can't see, but there's also those striped windows without any bearing things, because they were also cantilever things. And this was for the shoes, in Finland you take shoes off when you go inside, and I think it comes from tuberculosis sanatoriums. Hygiene. Yeah. That's operation room. Thank you.
Henna, thank you so much. That's a wonderful quote to end on, and just an extraordinary reminder of the whole thing, an extraordinary reminder of how radical a building actually can be, in a way that it feels completely impossible. The presence of that building in that landscape, the horses, the art, but also the extent to which he was able to innovate.
Yes.
One of the things I'm kind of really interested about is, to what extent was they were innovating, when they were thinking about these things like the furniture, the spittoon, the chair, and the breathing, to what extent were they talking to medics and doctors and so on, and sort of saying, does this work? Prototyping it, does this work?
Yeah.
How much of
And
that was going on?
Alvar Aalto was excellent at finding the best other people. He really had nose for recognizing the talent, and he was such a charming person that they wanted to share all the knowledge, and because he was very good at giving shape to things, I think doctors were very important, and and also this constructor, and it was even Alvar Aalto who chosen the first technician to this building, to take care of all the technical things.
So there definitely was a collaboration.
Yes, and he was supervisor of the whole building site as well. So he was signing all the when they were giving bills and so on. That he was approving them. Or that after this he was more or less bankrupt. But because of those furniture. Hey, I forgot to tell one thing. You have now Queen Camilla, and Queen Camilla's grandfather, Philip Morton Shawn, was the first representative of Alvar Aalto's furniture here in Britain, and he founded this company called Finmar, I don't know how do you pronounce it, together with some other guy, and Sean was also editor of Architecture Review or something. So I become a royalist.
Right, you're not welcome.
Can I ask you? Just is there any evidence against other sanatoriums, other hospitals, of the success of these techniques? Is there any evidence that people recovered more here than in other places?
I haven't heard. Because that the science, Finland was a really poor country, so the science, there was no time to make studies, I guess, of this kind of thing. But good question, and now they are doing like history studies and interviewing all kind of people who have been working here, and because they are still alive, some, or have been patients. So I will say also that to them that if they can figure it out somehow. Yeah.
Why did it stop being used as a hospital?
It was using as a hospital until 2015, so pretty long. But then city of Turku wanted more, everything together. So bigger, isn't it? So everybody wants bigger. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Was it a competition? Did he win by competition?
Yes, and he was only 30 years
He was
old.
very young.
He was very young. Yeah, yeah. It was competition, and he won quite many. Not all, but quite many of his best works, early stage, are winners.
How long did it take him? How long was he involved?
With this building until he died, more or less, or his office was. So it's hard to say. He was a little bit that kind of person that he left thing. So I don't think that he returned very often. I guess there were other people who.
Yeah.
He was supervising.
Yeah, maybe following the first question still. I think, or as far as I don't know anything about this, but I've read a little bit that actually the heliotherapy and some of the therapies that they were doing, it wasn't really doing anything. But it was useful for the society because, of course, it protected the society from the people that were infectious. But the more, I think, latest research shows that it didn't do that much for the patients.
Yeah.
But basically, if you could speculate, as someone who was like so deeply involved with the building, whether it changes what the building is now, the principles on which it was developed are maybe not quite correct or right or out of date in every way. Does it change how we see the building today, or how you would see it?
No, I didn't understand.
If the principles on which it was built are not necessarily scientifically correct, now that we understand the illness, does it change fundamentally what the building is today to you and to architects?
I think those are essential always, those things like light and fresh air and well-detailed surfaces and colors and views and good food and all things which are like important here. So I think this is relevant, still relevant. And those people who came there, they were poor and maybe they haven't so good food at their homes. So surely they get better there, but how much better, and how much for example, in those stairs, they are lower steps than normally, so that even when you were ill, you could walk up them 3 times. So it was exercise.
I think it's it's interesting, isn't it? Because I've had a lot of experience in respiratory healthcare, and it would have done the reverse. They would have shared their germs and died faster, probably. Nowadays, you isolate with respiratory bacterial infections and fungal infections. But what's interesting is today is the 75th anniversary of the NHS in the UK. And that kind of collective understanding of how we treat people has really changed, hasn't it? And now it's maybe more personalised and it's more individual, and architecture maybe has gone down that route. But that is quite interesting, isn't it? That this architecture kind of talks to a kind of collectivism, a sharing of spaces, a kind of coming together, which to me, as a person who's had spent the last 25 years looking at respiratory stuff, is terrifying, because it's like the last thing you want to do is be in a room breathing deeply with other people and sharing their different strains of TB and basically accelerating your own death. But you know, on the other hand, there was a kind of, that was the culture and the spirit of modernism at the time, and I think that those things maybe we can like metaphorically hold on to with our NHS that's so under threat, and the kind of individualism of it is seen as being. Sorry, that's my political.
Actually, at least all the doctors, they like it very much, and all the nurses like the building very much. So I think it's also like it has the value that the staff was very, very happy and wanted to work there.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting point right at the back. Does it change our mind about this building, because it may not necessarily have directly cured TB? And I think that there are two things going on here. One is possibly a mistaken belief, but no more mistaken than Florence Nightingale's miasmic theory that you can actually directly cure illnesses through these techniques. But the other thing is that putting people, placing such importance on human experience and creating a place where the mind can be stiller and the soul can be nourished, and the place refreshes you and reassures you, and you're in direct contact with nature. All of these things work in a way that actually modern medicine isn't geared to working. So in the meantime, of course, all those TVs and so on got cured by chemicals and astonishing achievements of modern medicine. But this is a little period almost before the rest of the 20th century history of medicine, where it's almost at the end of the Florence Nightingale kind of experiment, you know, where suddenly the invention of penicillin, which happened after this, you know, suddenly kind of knocked all of that out of the park. But actually, in that time, what was forgotten was how much the environment mattered, and why this building has inspired all of healthcare thinking since the late 20th century, since about 1980s, you and everyone else, is because it's a fantastic example of being in a beautiful place and the magic that has for people.
Well, after the pandemic, it must have made a very, very good hospital, general hospital. You know, when it wasn't just dealing with respiratory diseases, because what a lovely place to try and recover.
Or a psychiatric hospital. I'm surprised that there was no interest in transforming what was a hospital for respiratory disease. Obviously not good for that, but for something like a psychiatric or other kind of thing. Was there no discussion at all about doing a transformation of that sort?
No, nothing like that.
But I think that, following what Solange was saying, one of your early explanations was about how Aalto used himself to test it, and then he showed the lighting. And one of the characteristics which is so problematic about hospitals now, particularly for the elderly, if they don't have an extreme illness, then what they need is decent sleep and decent food.
Yeah.
And if you've ever had an elderly parent, as I have, who's been through the hospital system here, the lighting, there's this conflict, of course, which is apparent here, that there's a conflict between giving people individual space, but the nurses being able to be aware of health conditions, but also the lighting is generally absolutely atrocious for individual recovery. And I found it very interesting the way you showed that individual light, which was high up above the bed, and you intimated
Yes.
that kind of thing was so important.
Yes.
As
Totally.
well as the colour of the light.
Agree. Yeah.
One more question.
I've got one follow-up comment to this and then a follow-up question. The quote that you showed in the very beginning would be like super controversial now. I think it might have been like lost in translation, but an ill person needs other things than a normal person, obviously like super controversial nowadays. But what I think this building shows is that they might have been aware that there were obviously a percentage of people that were not curable, but it might have been one like first example of palliative, I don't know if that's the right word, but like palliative architecture. And that is something, like there are people that are like they are going to die, and even like following up on that comment, it's just great architecture for them to enjoy. Follow-up question to your question. When you said people are equals, so Aino and Alvar equals as in competitors in the competition, or whether like equal designers together? Because then in the rest of the talk it was mainly about him. So I'm just interested in Aino's role in that.
Yes. Aino was a very good architect, and Alvar respect her deeply. I mean, deeply. If you read, for example, there's a book about it's in Finnish, but they later correspond here. But at that time, Aino, they had 2 children, and they were pretty small. Of course, they had also housekeeper and so on, but there are not so many signs of Aino running this project. But for example, Aino was CEO of Artek later, so she was very, very active, and she also made some competition proposals by herself, and got also prizes. So, but here I would love to say that they, after competition, they had done this like together, like this, but I wouldn't say that.
Well, I just in conclusion, in a way, sort of return to what Sunyan said and others have said, kind of about what you've been talking about, Henna. And I think the most powerful thing seems about this building is its capacity to be, as it were, simply a good building. And in that way, that whether it's in this age of medicine, science, technology, and abstraction, in a sense, we are left often kind of struggling to justify why we do things. And this building, and what we've been talking about this evening, just is, I think, a really powerful reminder of whether things are sort of absolutely instrumental or approximately good and intuitive. I think is really important and ultimately powerful, and something that we should all kind of hang on to as what we do.
Yes.
So thank you.
Exactly.
Thanks for
Thank
reminding
you.